Hello board gamers and welcome back to Not Board Gaming. I'm your host, I'm Mark, and do I have a treat for you today? You see, today I'm going to be previewing and taking a look at this game right here. And of course, this is Don't Starve, the board game, coming to us from Glass Cannon Unplugged, and it hits crowdfunding on the 30th of September. Now, this is obviously based on the wildly popular computer game, and like all these games that are based on wildly popular computer games, I've only played the computer game a little bit, you know, so I don't know masses about the computer game, but it is, in essence, a survival type game. Now, we know survival type games. If you played Frostpunk, if you played, what's the other, is it Green Hell, the other computer game? I know that was a failed Kickstarter as well, but Green Hell, then you know what survival games are. They are rock hard games that really push you to the limit in trying to, first of all, understand the concept of what you're trying to do. Secondly, understand your individual objectives. Thirdly, understand the overall objectives. And most importantly, in this game, trying not to, well, starve. Yeah, so make no bones, right, about this game. It is not a walk in the park. It's a 1 to 4 player, fully cooperative game, and you're going to explore these various biomes on that you lay out as part of the map. And throughout the game, you're going to be collecting resources. You're going to be crafting stuff from this wonderful crafting book. Look at the stuff that's in there so far. And you're going to be potentially fighting monsters, and new monsters are going to come, so you can defeat them, hopefully, and gain whatever resources from them, and maybe use them to complete some of the scenarios. Now, the prototype that I've got here, and I will say this is still very much in prototype stage, okay? So anything that you see is definitely not the final version. It's very much still in prototype stage, but it's really good and well-produced prototype, this. But yeah, in the prototype, there's only one scenario, and that is the Feast of the Pig King. But of course, the game, when it comes out, will have lots and lots and lots of scenarios. There's trays of tokens, there are cards, there are, hey, my absolute favourite, I must admit, which is acrylic standees as well. We've got dials, we've got player boards, you're going to be crafting stuff, you've got individual characters with asymmetrical, I suppose, abilities and traits. I was going to say powers, but not really powers, but asymmetrical characters with abilities and traits. And you've got this kind of, well, it's not a totally random setup. You know, each scenario will have its own particular way to be set up, but the cards that you put in and the order stuff comes out in will be very different in each scenario. So you have this almost endless replayability that's going to happen in the game as well. There is dice rolling. You've got some monster dice and some character dice. There are tokens to collect, and there is a weather phase, and there are various day tokens that you put down, and you can, again, alter the difficulty of the game by putting some harder ones down on there. There's lots going on in this game. Now, I first played this UK Games Expo, I want to say, around about 2.5 years ago, and it was in a wildly different state then, kind of 2.5 years ago. There was potentially too much going on 2.5 years ago. Lots of little tokens that you were putting out all over the place. What Glass Cannon have done in the intervening time is they've kind of streamlined a lot of that down into what you see here right now. So, you know, I'm really impressed with, first of all, the quality of the prototype. Secondly, what they've done in terms of condensing and streamlining and focusing on the core gameplay elements of Don't Starve. So what we'll do is I'll drop you down. I'll explain how the game works. Look, I'm not a rules teacher, so it's going to be an overview on how the game works. Then we'll pop back up after I've shown you that, and yeah, we'll discuss my kind of thoughts on this prototype version of Don't Starve. That's the most important thing. Remember, right? You're going to use your health. You're going to use your sanity. But as the game says, please don't starve. Okay, so here we can see kind of most of the stuff set up on the table. Now, I'm kind of partway through a game here, and I'll kind of jerry-rig this a little bit just so I can show some of the bits. So it's not a true reflection of where I was in the game, but what it will do is show you kind of the main actions in the game. So we got these various biome tiles here, and you can see they're all kind of laid out on the board itself down here. And what you do is you're going to shuffle them, you put the portal where it tells you to, and each scenario will tell you where to put these tiles. And you're going to put them face down so you don't know what the biomes are. So what are the biomes, right? Okay, so we have kind of 4 biomes as 2 here. We have kind of the wooded area, the woods area, we have the meadows, we have the kind of rocky area, and we also have kind of the dry lands as well here. Is that tracking on that? There we go. Where's that going? There we go. Yeah, so we have the rocky area, and we also have kind of the dry lands as well. So those are the kind of biomes that you're going to get in the area on the map as you lay them down. But because you're laying them face down, you're not going to know where they are. And what you would do is when you move onto one, you flip it up, and it tells you where you're going to draw a card from that particular trait itself. Okay, and what happens here is the biomes are kind of the map itself. This is where you're going to go to try and explore the world, understand what resources are out there, what monsters are out there, and what you need to do to complete your scenario. So as I said, the scenarios, there's a number of scenarios coming in the game. The prototype that we got here purely has one scenario, which is this one here, which is called the Feast of the Pig King. Okay, so what the Feast of the Pig King is asking me to do on its first stage at the moment is explore the map and try and find these kind of resources. And I need to get a couple of lines because it's a number of lines per players. So I can do that and move on to the next card. And you'll keep doing that throughout the scenario until you complete all the cards and complete the scenario. Sounds easy. Yeah, it's really, really, really not. So as you can see, as I mentioned, you know, the game comes with these wonderful acrylic miniatures. But, you know, if you want to and you're down for that kind of thing, you can also opt to go for, and I've got them in a little box here, you can opt to go for the minis instead. Here we go. So kind of the 3D minis, yeah? Which look fantastic. These are obviously 3D printed, but you can opt to go for those as you want as part of the pledge if you want. Now, put the acrylic ones on there because I like acrylic. I must admit, I do like acrylic. Look at this wonderful little box that these things come in as well. This is just a great little box that they come in. Okay, so we talked about the scenarios, given you the overview on the board, talked about kind of the acrylic standees as well. Now down here we've got player mats. Okay, so each player mat is totally bespoke to the player. They've got their own dials on there. Here we can see we've got Wilson down here, and Wilson's got some particular traits and skills that he's going to be doing. So what Wilson's going to do is, when you play as Wilson, it tells you what his kind of starting health, what his hunger, and what his sanity is as well at the same time. But he's got particular cards as well. So in the preparation phase, and I'll go through the phases in a bit, exactly what happens there, you move the beard marker one space to the right, and what that does is that's going to protect them from frost in the weather phase. But also he's got this action here that he can spend all his beards, and for that he will get an additional hunger to recover some hunger. But also, is that hunger or sanity? He will recover some sanity, sorry, because he doesn't look quite as mad, obviously. But he will also get one of these resources as well. And he's also got transmutation as a particular trait. It says to spend 2 resources to gain 1 from the common supply. You've got to make sure that the resources kind of match up with what's on the tokens themselves, and I'll show you that in a bit. So each character, as I say, is slightly asymmetrical. They've also got their backpack, okay? And this is where you're going to store the items that you collected. Now, these items can be various things, like raw food, like other materials as well. This one's a trap. And you're going to use these for either cooking meals or for crafting as well. And to craft, you're going to have to understand exactly what goes on in the big book of crafting. Here we go. Now, crafting is a free action that you can do at any point. And this is really, really important. It's kind of the key part of the game, because you need to start understanding the scenario, what you've got to do to win the scenario, but also what you've got to do to survive the scenario. And crafting is a key part for that. So as you can see here, we've got a bit of armor here for Wilson. This reduces monster hits by 2. But I would need to use 2 of those tokens to craft that, and he can then have the item. We got weapons as well, which are these things here, so you can craft weapons. And then we've got more kind of utile actions, crafting options as well, like pickaxes and spades and hammers, fishing rods, traps, etc. And then here we have some other stuff. One of the key elements, right? Never negate the importance of light, and I'll explain why that's important in a bit, but never negate the importance of light. Trust me, it's truly important there, and those torches become all important in helping you survive, because, oh yes, but you can see these are kind of, you know, accoutrements that you can wear that are going to reduce some of the weather damage as well. I think there's going to be lots more crafting items than this probably in the main game. We've got hats, and then we have some other items here, which is like, yeah, we've got a big plum of kind of big beef ham leg here or something like that. Yeah, and that's going to give you 2 successes. We've got potions, etc. So crafting, getting to know this crafting book, I really can't tell you just how important getting to know the crafting book actually is. So that's the board, and we've got Wilson's board here, as I say, and he's also got his dials as well. So we look at the dials on here. It tells you what Wilson's starting health is going to be, right? So he's got 8 there. Then we got his hunger. Look, his little belly that's in there. And then we've got sanity as well. Now, hunger is really important because on your board, you're going to get these things called focus tokens, all right? And what these allow you to do is re-roll any number of dice that you roll, but each character limited to only so many. You get to refresh a number at the beginning of each phase, but that number is going to be dependent on where your hunger level is. If it's here, you get to refresh, you know, the maximum of all 3 basically. But if it's here below that, then what's going to happen is you're only going to get to refresh 1 each turn. So be sparing in how you use those focus tokens. Focus tokens, that's difficult to say. Could have sworn from that. And then here we have sanity. Sanity is going to reduce and reduce and reduce and reduce, okay? And you can see these little shadowy things here. That's because as your sanity goes down, what's going to happen is you're going to get these shadow monsters which have their own phase, basically. And you start off with a level 1, and then as you get quietly crazier and crazier, you'll get a level 2, and then as you get even more crazier from that, you're going to get a level 3 as well. And this is just like kind of, you know, what's that in a level 2? That's level 2. You're going to get a level 3 as well, basically. And then what you've got to do is you've got to do these kind of in order, in top-down order, basically. And this gets really bad as you get more and more insane. These shadow creatures are going to come, and these happen every round, basically. So you're going to start weathering the effect of shadow monsters each and every round as well. You've got a little token, and Wilson is going to flip that token as and when he's taken his turn. Now, you track your turns, and there are daytime and nighttime turns, and I'll come on to that in a bit, with this tracker here. And generally, you're going to start with 6 turns. Then when you've taken a turn, you move it down to 5. Now, you can play the game true solo. I've tried it true solo. I didn't mind it true solo. I'm having more fun playing 2 characters. So what would happen here is obviously character number 1 would take a turn, then it would go down, character number 2 would take a turn, then it would go down, character 3, etc. And you've got day and night sides for that as well. That's actually the night side there, and that's the day side there. Because the day and night phases absolutely matter in this game. And why do they matter? Well, let's have a look at this board here. This is kind of the overview on what happens each turn. Each round. Okay, so we'll just put that into focus there. So you're going to put a number on here. I've completed one on this. Okay, and these are your kind of, tells you what phase you're at. So this is a nighttime phase on this. At the end of this round, I need to have at least, each character needs to have at least 2 light sources, so be that from a torch, etc. It's going to be -3 hunger, and it's going to be -2 sanity. So you may have things, you may have food that you can have or eat at any point that will reduce that hunger, so you can take that down to 0, and something that reduces the sanity. These are randomized setups, okay? So you're going to pull a number of those, and you have easier sides and hard sides as well. So you're going to pull a number of those, easier ones and harder ones. Pull a number of those out there. So let's talk about the phases as we go through. First of all, you miss this phase on phase 1, you go through the preparation phase, okay? Now there is a handy little round structure thing that tells you exactly what happens. So in the preparation phase, you're going to draw a new weather card. We'll talk about weather cards in a bit. You're going to revive defeated characters, because if your character has been defeated, they've starved to death, they've lost all their health. If you have a meat effigy token, you can maybe revive one of them. All right, well, revive them, but you need to have a meat effigy token to do that, okay? You need to refresh your activation tokens, which is kind of their avatars. Refresh your focus based on, of course, where we said your hunger is. We need to resolve character abilities. So some of them have abilities that resolve at the beginning, like we mentioned about Wilson here. He's got this that happens in the preparation phase, which says you're going to move his beard marker on 1. Then you're going to remove the leftmost daily needs tiles. That's what these are. These are called the daily needs tiles, and these are what you must fulfill at the end of each round. And then you're going to reset the action tracker, okay, which is the action tracker there. Then we'll move on to phase number 2, and this is kind of the meat and potatoes of the game, if you like. This is the actions that you're going to take on the game. Now, bear in mind, as I say, you've got a number of things to think about. You've got to look at those daily needs and understand kind of, what do I need to not die at the end of this round? You've also got to look at the objectives of the scenario as well, which we discussed. But you also got to understand kind of what's open on the map. What can I do on the map? How can I survive this? Potentially get the information that I need to craft, or get the supplies that I need to craft stuff. So the action phase is you're going to play 6 consecutive turns, and those start, you may move. So you can move from one tile to another if you want, okay? From one tile to a previously explored tile. If you move to an unexplored tile, then one of the main actions that you can take in the game, we've got them here. We've got move, we've got explore, we've got interact, and we got fight as well. But let's just talk about the move, about the explore action for starts, because this is kind of how you get the map. So let's say Wilson's there, and he moves onto this, yeah, and then he has to explore this particular tile here. Okay, so what we would do is we would flip over and see what biome it is, okay? And we can see it's kind of like a Meadowlands biome here, which is great, okay? So we're going to go to the Meadows cards, and I'm going to draw one from the back here. Let's draw one from the middle. There we go. And as we look at these cards for Explore, you'll see, first of all, they've got this down here. This is what you get for exploring that area. So this is a resource. You take that out. There we go. And I'm going to put that in Wilson's backpack. He's got a few of them right now. Okay, then we flip the card over. Okay, and we can see here, we got a strange little fly type thing. Now, if we look at these cards, there's a number of things on here. First of all, if we look here, if you was to fight this monster, this says that this monster would roll 3 monster die. And that's these things here that have any number of faces on them, okay? So they would roll 3 monster dice, okay? And each hit that they get on there would do 1 damage to, if I was to attack that. So that's the first thing to do. If I was to fight them and defeat them, I would get what's in the top there, okay? Which is 2 of these fly type tokens. So let's just find one of those. There we go. So that's this. And what you would do is you'd get that for defeating them, and on the back there will be something that you can use, okay? So I'd get 2 of those. If I was not to defeat it, but I still took part in the combat, what would happen is I would just get 1 of those. But that's a fight action there. What you can also do is interact on the tile as well, on the biome as well. So down here you would roll your character die, which is this thing, and with whatever number it comes up with down at the bottom, what would happen is you would get what's there. So if it's a roll a 0 to a 2, yeah, I would get another one of what was on the front, which was that. If I roll a 3 to a 5, I'd get these little kind of rocks or flints, etc., good for making weapons. However, this over here is slightly different. If I've got this particular item crafted, then I can roll on this side as well here. I'd instantly get some food, and if I rolled a 2 to 3, I'd get like the conquer type thing, if you like. There we go. And if I rolled a 4 and 5, I'd get another one of those, but I must have one of those to do that. However, what if there's nothing on that tile that you like? Okay, so you kind of empty the tile. Important point to point out, actually, when you first explore, you're going to put a little cube on the center thing. Every time you take one of these kind of interact actions down here, what's going to happen is that's going to go down 1. When it's down at the bottom, there's no more to have. But what if you fully explored it or you don't like it? Well, on your next turn, you don't have to move. You can just take another explore action there, get rid of that card, take a new card. Let's see what's on this. Oh, we've got a mole on this one, okay? Which is, it gives you something different to explore there. But let's say, for example, we saw a monster. If you remember that this bee-type waspy thing, right? We had its attack value up here. You can see on this one here, it's got an attack, but it's got red around it. This means it's a hostile creature. So what you have to do when you first move onto that tile is you have to roll a monster die to see if it attacks you. Then when you interact with it, you've still got to roll monster die for it, because what's going to happen is it could potentially, as you're interacting with a card, still want to attack you. So these hostile ones can be a little bit difficult and tricky to deal with. But as I say, if you don't like it, just explore again maybe and try something different. So you're going to do that and kind of move around, crafting and understanding exactly what you need, collecting these resources. It's 6 turns per round. Now, action efficiency is really, really, really important on this, and understanding what's coming a little bit later on in terms of the end of the round with the weather phase, or maybe your own objectives, is really key to kind of understanding the importance of this. The wonderful thing about it is all these biomes are randomized, right? So you know every time you play it, you're going to play something ever so slightly different. So that's kind of the explore action. Explore does that. We talked about the interact action as well, which is kind of doing these things on the bottom down here. And then we have the fight action. So fight goes back to, if we go back to this here, so the fight action is going to go back to looking here and seeing how many dice it rolls here, and what damage each one of those hits takes. It's also got this special here. If this one rolls two of these purples here, it's also going to, I think, steal a resource that as well. So to win in combat, I just got to get one success that lands on this, okay? And how do I get success? Well, starting off without any weapons, it's pretty difficult, but as you get through the game, you're going to craft certain things. So, for example, this pickaxe gives me one success, okay? So great, I get a success from that. If I can roll a success on the dice, that's great. However, to counteract that, on these dice, there are a number of faces. First of all, we have this face, which is the evade phase. All right. So if the monster rolls this face, what it's going to do is it's effectively going to evade one of your successes. Then we get the old jewel. Then we get this, and this is kind of for certain actions. As I mentioned on this particular card, if it rolls two of those purples, then it is going to, I think it's still a resource that. So that may have nothing on a particular turn, or it may have a lot on a particular turn. Well, look here, what we got here, this is 2 breaks to armor. You can craft armor. And of course, this is a hit as well. So it's also going to do a hit. We've got 1 break to armor and a hit. And we have an evade and a purple signal, okay? And we also have this here, which is split by a line. So you actually get to choose which one you want. Do you want to evade or take a hit? And trust me, sometimes taking a hit is better than taking that evade. So I have to do that, as well as hoping that it doesn't evade all of my successes that I get. So as I say, your weapons give you success, but you've also got your character die as well, which you're going to roll at the same time. You roll all the dice simultaneously, okay? And this has got it's got numbers 1 to 5 on there, and then this symbol, okay? In the daytime, this symbol is really important. This symbol in the daytime means that you can change this die face to any face that you want, which is fantastic. However, if it's nighttime, it has 0 effect. It's just a 0, straight out 0. So we look at that. That's just a number 1, nothing else additional on that. Then we go to number 2. So yeah, you've rolled a 2, but it's got a break symbol on there. That's because each of your equipment has got this kind of these break symbol. Your equipment breaks effectively, so you're going to have to choose which equipment you want to break, basically, and you'll flip it over, and if it breaks a second time, you'll get rid of it. Some of them have more than 1, okay? Then if we look at number 3 is another break symbol. Number 4 is, I got it to the bottom, yay. So number 4 is an additional success, but 2 break symbols as well. There's no line dividing that, so you have to do both of that. And then number 5 is exactly the same. It's an additional success, but 2 break symbols. So it could be that you get successes from your character die as well during combat. Now, you only need 1 success to land to go through, and the creature is defeated. What you would do then is you would then put this creature, this dead creature marker on the tile. There we go. Say I defeated a tall bird, which is just here, and that is now kind of defeated. It may come back in future phases, all right? So you can do these kind of actions throughout the game, throughout the round, and then once 6 actions have been taken, what's going to happen is we're then going to move into the shadow phase, which is what I mentioned earlier. If you start racking up your insanity, what's going to happen is you're going to manifest these shadow beasts, and this will take a turn every round. So maybe in your first turn, depending what happens, they may not occur, but generally what's going to happen is that in your, certainly in your second round, they're going to start taking effect. So that's the shadow phase. Then we go to the daily needs phase, and this goes back to this here. Okay, so we go back to this board just here, and as I mentioned on this is about satisfying these requirements here. So I would have to have on my tile, or my characters, each character, bear in mind, they would have to have access to 2 sources of light. What that light is, it could be a torch, it could be on the tile itself, it could be anything else that mitigates that, but they would have to have access to 2 sources of light. If they don't, you lose 5 points of health for every light that your character doesn't have. They'll also have to lose 3 hunger. You see that little stomach there. Now, you may have food. That's great. That's fantastic. But also, you would then lose 2 sanity on this. You can see these change as you go through. You've got day and night on there, and they've got various ones on there. So that's about satisfying daily needs. And it's entirely possible that you get through it and you die at the daily needs phase, definitely. Then we've got the weather phase. Okay, so let's have a look at a weather card. So these things, bane of my life. This is just something else you've got to plan for. So bear in mind, you're planning for the daily needs phase. You are planning for the overall kind of campaign and scenario that you're on. But you've also got to plan for the weather phase, right? And what this says here is each character not on the portal map tile, right? And that's this one here. It could be in a different setup on other scenarios. Loses 2 sanity, right? So you know at the beginning of your round, because you're going to unveil this at the beginning of your round, you know what you kind of need to do. But then we can see here what's going to happen, right? And what this says is that if, go back to the daily needs phase, if we are before this little lightning, all right, all the characters on the left apply. If you're after this little lightning, then all of the characters to the right apply, all the characters to the right apply as well, right? So this can really rack up as the game progresses. So we are currently here. We've only got kind of, we're not a little lightning. We're going to get some rain damage. How much rain damage is going to happen? Well, you look at that. A lot, basically, yeah? However, fortunately, both of my characters have, one's got a top hat, one's got a cowboy hat, and you can see up there that they've got these equipped, and both of them -1 rain. So, hey, they're safe on that, okay? But then we've also got this that's going to happen as well. So we're before this lightning on the daily needs tile, and it says here that kind of ice is going to happen. So it's a snowstorm. It's going to get you wet, and it's going to get you cold. And if you don't have protection against that, then you're going to suffer health and hunger damage on that, which is fine because both of my characters have beards, yeah, and these beards, for every beard length, gain a -1 to frost damage. So, but you will want to cut that at some point because you'll need to use that resource to cut that. Then what you get is these little icons that come at the far side of here, right? And this tells you what's going to happen. Now, this is not too bad. What this does is it kind of pushes all of these. I told you, every time you kind of interact down here, these cubes go down until you can't interact anymore. It pushes them all to the top. However, a bad one to get is, well, let's talk about this one. Oops, I just dropped it. Let's find it again. This one here. Right, so this one here, which is this symbol just here, that's going to respawn monsters. Remember that I put a dead monster token on here, so that's going to respawn those monsters for you. But the one that you're going to hate the most is this one just here, and this is spoil. This means that any uncooked food that you've got in your backpack, at the end of the weather phase, it rots. You have to throw it away. You have to put the tokens back. So cooking your food, crafting that food, eating that food is really important. I mean, if the key wasn't in the name of the game, which is don't starve, then I don't know what you think was going to happen. But your food is going to rot, and it's going to you're going to get rid of it. So that is really important to keep on top of that. Then you do the scenario phase. So the scenario phase is looking at the scenario cards that we mentioned and kind of seeing there'll be a little icon on there, which is this little book just here. My tracking's gone weird on this camera today. It's this little book just here. So you'll do all of those. And once you've completed that that part of the scenario, it will then advise you to move on to the next card. Then you go right back to the beginning. You've got a preparation phase, and you start another round. And you will last as many rounds until you've completed daily needs, or until your characters are dead. Bear in mind, it's a fully co-op game, and trying it on your own when one character is dead is very, very, very difficult. So if your characters are dead, then obviously you can't carry on. And if you get to the end of the needs phase, end of the daily needs tiles, you haven't completed the scenario, you're dead. Now, talk about cooking. Okay, so again, in the prototype, we just got 3 recipes here, but this tells you kind of what resources you need to get these particular recipes. And these are pretty good because what they do is, so as you can imagine, cooked food is more nutritious than raw food, and it's got better stuff on here. So if you can find a way to cook amongst doing everything else, then you've got a better chance of kind of topping up your health, your sanity, and your hunger stats. But you've got to have the resources to cook that. You can trade amongst each other as well. That is an action. It's an actual action to trade amongst each other. And as I say, there are 3 actions you can take, and the main one being crafting. And I've said this before, do not negate just how important this book is. Look, there is a part of the game that we're not really going to fully explore in the prototype because you need to be part of the campaign for it. However, we've got the kind of home base, and this is going to be built on blueprints you're going to get throughout the game. And you're going to choose 3 at any one point, at the beginning of a scenario to have. These use this kind of, what's it called, the elemental points here, most of them, and it tells you how much they cost. You will top those back up by spending nightmare fuel. And you get to do certain things. So, for example, if you go into the portal tile, you're automatically at your home base. We've got a lovely little kind of acrylic standee to say that's what it is. If I was there and we're in the daily needs phase or the weather phase, I could spend these resources and I could get some light. So there is a way, if you haven't got torches, etc., and you've got the campfire in here, there is a way to actually do that. This allows you to repair an item. This one allows you to, I think, yeah, you get a twig, which is really useful, actually, the twigs. But there are a number of different blueprints. You know, you can choose from 3 in this demo scenario, but you're going to get more and more as the game goes on. Okay, and the home base is going to be really important in terms of continuing the scenarios in a campaign, making sure that you're choosing the right resources, etc. Look, that's kind of an overview on exactly how things work for Don't Starve. It's a lot of information there, but I hope you found it really, really useful. Let's drop up to me. Let's come back up to me, and we'll discuss kind of my thoughts on Don't Starve so far. Okay, and there we go. That's a pretty brief overview on what you get and what you can expect to see in Don't Starve, the board game coming to us from Glass Cannon Unplugged. Look, I think the first thing to say off the bat is this game is rock hard for your first couple of games as you're getting used to the mechanisms, understanding what you need to do and how you need to do things, and understanding what you can craft and how important this is. You're probably not going to grok it right at the very beginning, and that's going to make for a frustrating first couple of games, and it certainly did for me, as I just couldn't crack the code on what to do, and I just seemed to be dying way too quickly and not doing that. But as soon as I start to understand exactly the importance of crafting, the importance of kind of converting certain resources into other resources, the importance of truly working cooperatively, that's when it started to really, really kind of click for me. I've been having a lot of fun, even if it's just one scenario. I've been having a lot of fun with this. But make no mistake, it's despite its cutesy look, and its animated look, pretty much like the video game, it's by no means an easy game to play initially. The rules, as they are at the moment, are obviously in development, are they're okay. There's a few omissions on there that I had to double check on, but that's what prototypes are for, is just finding out what is there. I've seen that Glass Cannon have done a how to play video, which I think is excellent. That really helped me kind of just make sure that I got a lot of the rules right on this. There are quite a few rules, but once you get that timing down of the phases, then most of the stuff is kind of, makes sense at that. You just got to make sure you understand kind of the minutiae of everything, understanding all the icons, and there are a lot of icons, is going to be kind of key. But going back to the core nature of the game, and the very fact it's called Don't Starve means that this game is all about those resources, making sure you've got enough food, making sure your health is there. You are spinning so many plates in this game. You've got the actual scenario objectives to try and complete. You've got the daily needs tiles that are happening. You've got the just sheer ability to stay alive. You've got stuff that can happen as you explore, and potentially hostile creatures are going to come and attack you. You've got to start crafting those weapons and those tools and those clothes, etc., because if you don't have weapons, you stand a very poor chance in any fights, and fights are going to be essential for collecting the right type of resources that you need to complete the scenario. So you've got a lot coming at you in this game, and I can understand for some people how it can feel overwhelming. I say, and certainly I can see that it depends on what the introductory scenario is going to be in the final release and how they ease players into the game. That's going to be a key part for Glass Cannon Unplugged. But once you kind of crack that code and you understand, oh yeah, this is what I need to do now. Stop being so kind of laser focused on one particular objective, but actually look at the board. What is available to me? What do I need to do? What is really important for me? How important is a tool? Or how important is something compared to the weather card? Do I need to plan for rain, for frost, etc.? Once you've got that, it starts to make sense. And I think what Glass Cannon have done with this is akin to what they've done with Frostpunk, and I bloody love Frostpunk, and that is again another rock hard game. But it's akin to what they've done with that. They've taken this real kind of threat management, this dread, this survival part of the game, and managed to make it in a way that, whilst it initially feels overpowering, once you get into the flow of it, it's a lot of fun to try and work out this constantly changing and dynamic puzzle. And if that's your kind of thing, you and a group of, either you on your own or you and a group of friends are going to have a great time trying to work through this puzzle, and there are going to be lots of kind of fallouts and arguments, but lots of good-natured stuff at the same time. So yeah, I have enjoyed my time. After a bit of a trepidatious start with it, once I'd done that couple of games and I say, kind of cracked what I thought I needed to do, then I've been having a lot of fun with this. But it does come with a caveat, and that caveat is that, you're going to die. You're going to die a lot in this game. Certainly in the early phases, you're certainly going to die until you really unlock that magic. And when you do unlock that magic, what you got is a really well-crafted game that kind of, it does evoke, and I haven't played it much, but it does evoke some of the a lot of the feeling of Don't Starve. And you've got these wonderfully variant characters. You've got the crafting, you've got the exploration, you've got the fact that if you don't like an exploration tile, just re-explore it. Yes, you lose a move, but that's fine. Going back to what I said earlier as I was taking you through the walkthrough, action efficiency is really important. 6 consecutive actions is not a lot, basically, and you may have something at the other side of the board. And I know you get 1 free move, but maybe you need to use your full action for another move at that point. And yeah. So working together cooperatively for those that kind of action efficiency is going to be absolutely paramount in making sure that you have the ability to complete what you need to do to survive and try and complete the scenario. So look, I hope you've enjoyed me on this kind of tour through Don't Starve. I think it's cracking. I can't wait to play the full version and lose terribly and die a horrible death. But then, kind of get straight back into it and do it again. I really appreciate what Glass Cannon have done from the version I saw a couple of years ago to where we are right now, which is this more streamlined version where everything makes sense, and you do get this sense of exploration, this sense of pervading dread as you're playing through the game as well. I think, looking at the quality of the prototype, what they sent through, if the finished version is anywhere near as good as this, which it will be, or probably even better than this, then you guys are in for a treat with a full and finished version. I can't wait to explore kind of the home tile as well, the home base, and see what happens from that. Yeah, I understand it may not be for some people, and it may be not in the right ballpark for people, but if you're looking for a good action efficiency survival type game, one that really gets under your skin and makes you go away and think about what you did and how you could have done it different and what you may need to do next time and what you need to craft, then this is going to be it, because it really scratches a lot of those itches. I've had a great time with it. I really have enjoyed Don't Starve a lot. I've got to send it on to somebody else now, and I'm kind of pining about that, because yeah, it's pretty great, and I want to play it with more people. From a solo perspective, yes, you can do it solo. You can absolutely do it solo. It does have the ability. You've got one person that's going to be doing 6 actions, but I will say I played a bit of a game solo, and I much preferred it playing with 2 characters. It's not that much overhead on 2 characters, but I much preferred it with that, because it just seemed that I could bounce the skills and the, like I normally do with with kind of co-op games. You're bouncing the abilities and traits off each other and making sure that you maximise. True solo is, I think it's a lot harder, to tell you the truth, but you'll still have a great time. But it's a challenge. If you really want to challenge it, then go true solo on full nightmare mode, where you got all of the daily needs tiles at their top setting as well. Yeah, guarantee you won't last long on that. Brilliant. Thanks again for watching. My name's Mark. This is Not Board Gaming. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out our other videos. And one final thought: if you can't find anyone else to play with, then there's nothing wrong with playing with yourselves. Until next time, bye bye.